Look at the map. You've seen the lines. Those neat, comforting boundaries that define our world, giving us a sense of control, of understanding. In this age of GPS, of satellite imagery, of every inch of the globe meticulously charted and cataloged, we believe we've conquered the unknown. We navigate with digital precision, confident in the safety of our maps. Yet, there remains a visceral dread, a primal fear, reserved for those spaces history has dared to label as voids, places where the lines blur, where the known becomes unknowable, and no void looms larger, more shrouded in myth and terror than the Bermuda Triangle. For decades, it has haunted our collective imagination, a sinister stretch of ocean, roughly bounded by Bermuda, Miami, and Puerto Rico, where ships and planes simply vanish. The stories are legion, over 300 vessels and aircraft, countless souls, swallowed by the deep without a trace. It's a chilling tally, a statistic that should, by all logic, send shivers down the spine of any sailor or pilot. Yet here's the shocking truth, the inconvenient fact that unravels the entire narrative. Insurance companies, those bastions of risk assessment, don't charge a single extra cent for passage through this infamous region. Think about that. The cold, hard numbers, the actuarial tables, tell us it's no more dangerous than any other heavily trafficked stretch of ocean. Modern comfort, modern data, screams safety. But ancient fear, the whispers of legend, tell a different story. They speak of something else entirely, something that defies logic, something that preys on our deepest anxieties. But if the statistics say it's safe, if the experts dismiss it as mere folklore, then why did the US Navy lose its largest ship without a single radio call? Why did an entire squadron of trained pilots simply disappear? The answers you'll find are far more complex and far more terrifying than any ghost story. Welcome to the Hall of Ghosts, a place where the veil between worlds seems thinnest, where the impossible becomes chillingly real. Here, the legends are born, etched into the annals of maritime and aviation mystery. And perhaps no tale is more iconic, more utterly baffling than that of Flight 19. It was December 5th, 1945. 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, the pride of the US Navy, took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a routine training exercise. 14 men, led by the experienced Lieutenant Charles Taylor. What began as a simple navigation drill soon descended into a nightmare. Taylor, disoriented, his compasses malfunctioning, believed he was over the Florida Keys, when in reality, he was far out over the open ocean. His last words, crackling through the static, were chilling. Everything looks strange, even the ocean. It doesn't look right. The conversation between the planes, captured on radio, painted a picture of utter confusion, of men lost, adrift, and slowly succumbing to the vast, indifferent sea. A rescue plane, a Martin Mariner, was dispatched. It too vanished. 27 men, 6 aircraft, gone, without a trace. A mystery that launched 1,000 theories. Then there's the USS Cyclops, a behemoth of a ship, a 542-foot Navy collier carrying 306 souls. In March of 1918, she departed Barbados, bound for Baltimore. She was never seen again. No distress signal, no wreckage, no bodies. The largest non-combat loss in US Navy history. Simply erased. How does a vessel of that size, in relatively calm waters, disappear so completely? The mind struggles to comprehend it. And what about the Ellen Austin, an American schooner in 1881, sailing through the Sargasso Sea? Her crew spotted a derelict, a ghost ship, adrift and seemingly abandoned. A prize crew was put aboard, tasked with sailing the mystery vessel to port. Days later, both ships vanished. Then, the derelict reappeared, empty once more. And then, it vanished again, taking with it the second prize crew. A macabre dance with the unknown. A ship that refused to be claimed. Even in more modern times, the disappearances continued. The SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a T-2 tanker carrying molten sulfur, vanished in 1963 with 39 crew. Only minor debris was ever found. A life ring, a life jacket, whispers of a structural flaw, of a ship pushed beyond its limits. But still, the complete lack of a distress call, the sudden, absolute silence, fueled the myths. Aliens, Atlantis, time warps, portals to other dimensions. The human mind, desperate for answers, conjured up fantastical explanations, each more elaborate than the last. But what if the truth is far more mundane, yet infinitely more terrifying? Now, for a cold shower of science. Let's dismantle the fantastical, the convenient fictions we've built around these tragedies, the myths of Atlantis, of alien abductions, of temporal distortions. They crumble under the harsh light of scientific inquiry. The Bermuda Triangle, it turns out, is not a supernatural anomaly. It's a geographical one, a confluence of natural phenomena that, when combined, create a perfect storm of peril. Consider the Gulf Stream, not just a current, but a colossal, powerful river within the ocean itself. Up to 5.6 miles per hour, it churns and flows. A liquid conveyor belt. Any debris, any wreckage, any trace of a vanished vessel would be whisked away, scattered across thousands of miles, long before rescuers could even begin their search. It's not that nothing is left behind, it's that what is left behind is carried away too quickly, too efficiently, for us to ever find it. The ocean, in its vastness, simply cleanses itself of our mistakes. Then there's the agonic line. In the 19th century, before the advent of modern navigation, sailors relied on magnetic compasses. The agonic line is an invisible boundary where true north and magnetic north align. Cross it, and your compass readings become wildly inaccurate, leading navigators into fatal errors, sending them hundreds of miles off course into treacherous waters. Imagine being lost at sea, your only guide lying to you, pulling you further and further into the abyss. A simple scientific fact, yet one that could easily explain countless disappearances. And finally, human error and confirmation bias. We remember the 1% failures, the dramatic disappearances, the chilling stories that capture our imagination. We ignore the 99% successes, the thousands of safe passages through the very same waters. We seek patterns where none exist, connecting unrelated incidents to form a narrative of mystery. It's easier to believe in a malevolent force than to accept the mundane, often tragic reality of human fallibility and the sheer power of nature. We think we've solved it with magnets and currents. We think we've stripped away the mystery, leaving only cold, hard facts. But there is a phenomenon occurring on the seafloor that is far more violent, far more sudden, and far more terrifying than any ghost story. A force that doesn't just make things disappear, it deletes them. Forget the ghosts, forget the aliens. The real monster in the Bermuda Triangle isn't some ethereal entity or extraterrestrial visitor. It is nature itself, a brutal, indifferent, and utterly devastating force that operates on a scale we can barely comprehend. And it begins deep beneath the waves, on the seafloor, with something called methane hydrates. Imagine vast, frozen deposits of methane gas trapped under immense pressure beneath the ocean floor. These are the Blake Ridge deposits, massive reserves of what is essentially ice that burns. But when geological shifts, seismic activity, or even changes in ocean temperature destabilize these deposits, the methane is released. It erupts from the seafloor in colossal, violent plumes, turning the water above into a frothing, bubbling, unholy foam. And here's the terrifying part. Water filled with gas loses its buoyancy. A ship sailing into such a methane-rich zone would instantly lose its ability to float. It wouldn't sink slowly. It would plunge, as if through a trapdoor, falling through the ocean in mere seconds. No time for a distress call. No time to react. Just gone. Deleted by physics. Swallowed whole by a sudden, invisible void created by the very water it was meant to float upon. This isn't a theory. It's a scientifically proven phenomenon, capable of explaining the most sudden and complete disappearances. But the dangers aren't just below the surface. Look to the skies. Satellite imagery has revealed a bizarre, terrifying weather pattern unique to this region. Hexagonal clouds. These aren't your typical fluffy cumulus. These are massive, six-sided cloud formations, often miles wide, that act like atmospheric factories for destruction. Within them, scientists have observed what they call air bombs, microbursts of air, traveling at speeds of up to 170 miles per hour, that plummet from the sky and slam into the ocean surface. Imagine an invisible hammer, striking with the force of a small explosion. For an aircraft, it's an instant snap of wings, a sudden, catastrophic structural failure. For a ship, it's a violent flip, an immediate capsizing, leaving no chance for survival. These aren't just storms. They are targeted, localized acts of meteorological violence, capable of erasing anything in their path. And then, the ocean's ultimate weapon, rogue waves. Not just big waves, but monstrous solitary walls of water, sometimes over 100 feet high, that appear seemingly out of nowhere. In the Bermuda Triangle, the collision of powerful storm systems with the relentless flow of the Gulf Stream creates the perfect conditions for these titans of the deep. A modern tanker, designed to withstand the fiercest gales, can be instantly crushed, broken apart, and swallowed by a rogue wave. It's a force so immense, so sudden, that it leaves no time for an SOS. No time for a final message. The ocean isn't haunted, it's a high-energy machine. We aren't being hunted by ghosts, we are being deleted by physics. The true horror isn't some spectral entity, it's the raw, unbridled power of the natural world, reminding us of our fragile place within it. The term Bermuda Triangle itself, that evocative, fear-inducing phrase, was only coined in 1964 by a pulp magazine writer named Vincent Gaddis. Before that, it was just a place, an area of ocean. But Gaddis, with a few well-chosen words, gave birth to a legend, a modern myth that captured the public imagination. And in doing so, he tapped into something far deeper, far more human than just a collection of maritime accidents. The real mystery of the Bermuda Triangle isn't why ships and planes disappear. The real mystery is why humans need monsters. Why do we cling to the supernatural, to the fantastical, when faced with tragedy? It's because we create myths to give meaning to the meaningless, to impose order on chaos, to put a face on the faceless power of the void. It's easier, far easier, to believe in alien abduction, in a portal to another dimension, than to accept the cold, hard truth that a random, invisible bubble of gas from the seafloor can erase a human life in an instant, that a sudden, unseen gust of wind can tear an aircraft from the sky, that a rogue wave, a liquid mountain, can crush a steel vessel as if it were a toy. The monsters we invented for the Bermuda Triangle were, in a strange way, a comfort. They gave us something to blame, something to fear that we could perhaps understand or even fight. They allowed us to externalize the terror, to believe that there was a malevolent intelligence at work, rather than the terrifying indifference of the natural world. But the truth, as always, is far more profound. The real horror isn't what's in the water. It's the water itself. It's the AR itself. It's the very physics of our planet, reminding us that for all our maps, for all our technology, for all our perceived control, we are still, and always will be, at the mercy of the elements. And sometimes, the most terrifying truth is that there is no monster, no ghost, no alien, just the raw, untamed power of the earth, ready to reclaim what it deems its own.